and welcome to episode 440 of the Filmmakers Podcast. This is a podcast where we talk
hostage negotiations
from indie film to studio films and
everything in between.
How to get them made, how to make them, and how to try not to
royally F them up.
In our very, very humble opinion, we are delighted to welcome onto the show the stars and the director of September 5, the brand new movie which is out in cinemas now. Dom sat down with the incredible cast and director to chat all about September 5. Oh my gosh, this sounds incredible. Let's list them all first. Dom, who did you chat to?
I spoke to director Tim Fellbaum, actor Peter Sarsgaard, and Leonie Benesch. And we also spoke to some other actors on the second wave, because we did this long form and short form because it was so much fun, and we love Paramount and we love the movie. So there we go.
What do you think our audience takes from long form and short form? I'm intrigued.
Well, okay, so
wording. Long form and short form. Oh, I must keep listening.
Yeah. So long form is great. Like this was like months and months ago, and I spoke to two of the actors and the director. Mm-hmm. We went really deep into process and just the initial sort of thoughts, how they got involved in the project, like really the details and the minutiae. But then we did some filmed interviews just last week, and it was paired actors, which really does create a nice dynamic, and you get a little bit more into collaboration and how they're working together and a different kind of perspective. So they're a little bit more fun, but they're also going into different sort of elements that you don't get in the sort of single interviews. So it was great. And if you love Peter Sarsgaard or Leonie Benesch, and you should, there's so much to discuss with their process, and they're both fantastic as well.
Well, right. Hopefully that makes sense to you. Let's maybe spell this out a tiny bit more. First of all, we're putting this into 5 interviews, 5 different segments. 2 of people of which who were on said interviews turn up twice. Hope that makes sense. Don was there for all of them. That's all that matters, right? Okay, so we're gonna start our first one with Peter Sarsgaard. Then we'll go on to Leonie Benesch. Then we'll swing back around to the director, Tim Fellbaum.
Yep.
Then we'd go into the paired interviews, which is also a film which will be on our YouTube channel, where you had Leonie Benesch and John Magaro.
Yep.
And then our final filmed interview, which will also be on this podcast that you're listening to, it's with Peter Sarsgaard and Ben Chaplin.
Yes.
Wow.
Very exciting.
Yes. Okay, so we start with Peter Sarsgaard. What did you chat about with Peter for our audience? We'll do this throughout each one. Very quick, very brief, just so you know.
I'll do the summary for Peter and Leonie together for this, because I think what's really fascinating about this film in general is, we spend so much time talking about backstories and character building and, personalization. and we sort of talked a little bit about that with the actors. And so much about this film in particular was not about that, because you've got such a first of all, you've got a situation that really happened. You've got so much detail there, and you've got such an impressively intense goal that the characters are all working to. The general theme was just how little backstory was needed and how much it was just focusing on the script and the details and being present. And I think that's what makes it such a compelling film, because there's just so little of the sort of the fluff in this case. And it's all about intent and what they're getting from the scene and each other and the story.
Sounds absolutely epic. We should probably get straight to it, to be honest. But let's tell our audience a little bit about September 5, the movie, so they can go and understand before the interviews.
So September 5, as the Americans might say.
Or we'll say September 5th.
We'll say, I always say September 5th, and they're like September 5. Yeah. September 5.
Which is released on Feb 7th. Yeah. How do we do this? On the 7th of February or February 7.
Yeah.
Today, to confuse you.
There we go. So, confusing episode, isn't it?
I don't know what's going on.
It was the Munich hostage negotiation crisis that happened in the 1972 Munich Olympics.
Yeah, so this is hard-hitting drama, but it's phenomenal.
Yeah, set from the perspective of the TV crews that were on the sports team and ended up covering this incredible event.
Amazing. So we know Peter Sarsgaard is pretty much known for his roles in Shattered Glass, which is, I think, one of the first movies I really remember watching and thinking, oh my God, this is amazing. Ewan McGregor starred in that. He was also in An Education as well, Carey Mulligan's breakout role, and recently in Jackie, which won an Oscar for Natalie Portman. There you go.
And let's not forget Memory, which we also covered on the podcast.
Let's not remember Memory. No, let's not forget Memory. It's true. We covered that very recently on a podcast. Dom, let's start this mammoth 5-interview epic with Dom Lemoir, primo host. First of all, chatting to Peter Sarsgaard. Oh, and Leonie, you're going straight into the 2, weren't you?
You get to hear the progression of my German speaking, which I practiced on Leonie over several months, that she was absolutely delighted by, obviously.
Okay, amazing. So we're going to do them back to back, so there'll be no intro in between the 2. So Leonie's credits, you'll know her from The Crown, Babylon Berlin. She's just fantastic. She adds so much depth to this film. So Leonie Benesch will be after Peter Sarsgaard, and then we'll see at the other side of that. Enjoy.
So welcome to the Filmmakers Podcast.
Thank you.
And welcome to London as well.
Thank you so much.
I
love it here.
Yeah, how are you doing?
The jet lag is worn off.
That's good. Yes.
I slept.
So, huge congratulations on the film. I think we covered your film Memory a little while ago.
Yep.
And since then, I've watched you in Presumed Innocent.
Yep.
And I really enjoy that you seem to channel such power and difference of intent in all of your roles. Like there's always like very deliberate sort of behaviors, but there's a sort of power all the way. There's like a through line for it.
Honestly, to me, it just feels like I'm getting out of the way of the character.
Interesting.
There is difference between the people that I play, but I don't necessarily feel like I create it, if that makes sense. Like it has to do with script. It has to do with, I seem powerful in this movie because the other actors treat me like I'm powerful. I don't have to act like powerful. I'm powerful and presumed innocent because I'm a guy who has to make himself powerful. It's always just sort of given to me. And I change enough in my life. Like I would actually say that Presumed Innocent, this movie, and Memory, I am physically similar. It's because I had a back problem.
Oh, I see. Okay.
I'm over that now.
That's
so
good to know.
Hopefully in the next movie, I will seem physically different. But it's not because of the movie. It's because of my life,
Well, I suppose that's all stuff that you can use, isn't it? Your life. And
that's all you have.
That's all you have, yeah.
That's all you have. I don't, when you first start acting, you use yourself. Well, as a little kid, maybe you pretend a lot, right? You're a wizard, you're this kind of thing, and it's really imagination. Then when I first started acting, I studied with the Actors Studio in St. Louis, like a pilot program with Shelley Winters, Ellen Burstyn, Collier, all these people, and it was all about using yourself, your future you, the young you, really getting in touch with who you are and putting that into the role in the given circumstances. Then you've done that long enough, and you start to pick up your head like young people do and look at other people and go, I wonder what that person's life is like. And you kind of imagine it, talk to them, have experience in the world, and then you're able to filter yourself through someone else's experience. Now, I don't worry about what Rune Ulrich looked like, talk like, anything like that. I get inspired by selected things from his life. I don't pretend that I am him, but I'm thinking about him, if that makes sense.
I think it does. And I've always felt that whether it's the director or the actor, when someone takes on a role that's, based on a true story, it always feels more authentic to me when they're sort of capturing the essence, but the character feels lived in and real. And the emotional, strain of the character is authentic rather than, sort of focusing on the microcosms of the...
You know who did that, I think, so extremely well, and it actually does seem like he's Truman Capote, is Philip Seymour Hoffman.
Oh, he used to be my absolute favorite actor.
He also is Philip Seymour Hoffman.
Yeah.
Completely. Like, if you knew him, he's him. He's just doing a little Truman thing. He's enjoying it the way that Truman enjoyed it. Truman also was more Truman or less Truman, depending on who was around.
Yeah.
And we all have personas. That exterior stuff is the easy stuff, you know?
Yeah, I remember seeing him in Synecdoche, New York, which is just one of those films that like just blew my mind because he is. I mean, I think that's it. It's the ability, you know, some of my favorite actors to watch and why I enjoyed watching you in this.
He was my favorite actor of my generation.
Yeah, same. Yeah, because it just that mix of like real vulnerability and human flaws, but then as you say, like drawing in other things off other actors, and I love what you said about that in this one as well, having other people, you know, feeding you in, because it is really about listening and taking the other actors.
If I walk into the room and they don't treat me like I'm the boss, I'm not the boss.
Yeah, it's very true. Very, very true.
Yeah.
So how did you get involved in this? What was the process for? Did Tim, you know, send you a script? Did you get through a casting agent? What was that?
I'd been offered the movie.
Mm-hmm.
I actually had run into Sean Penn, who I've known for 30 years. I did my first movie with him.
Wow.
Dead Man Walking.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
And I've known him throughout the years. And I ran into him at a concert, and I really can't remember, but he may or may not have mentioned it. If he did, it was just a blip of nothing. So when I showed up and I saw his name on it as producer, that obviously meant something to me. He's a guy who I really respect his taste.
Yeah.
And John Palmer, his producing partner. So then I met with Tim, and my concern was, this is such a delicate event, and this is before, we made this well before October 7th. But, it's always been a delicate thing. And people died that day, real people. And so he was so obsessive about detail. He was talking about using documentary footage. When I saw that, like, Jim McKay on that day and the way he acted, I was like, well, there's our leading man. Kind of anchor that I think the world is starved for right now, who doesn't make things about himself, but lets the information come through him. And what's interesting is Roone Ulrich is the guy who sort of allowed anchors to use I'm standing here, I'm watching this, in some sense making it more about themselves. And then Roone invented the celebrity anchor, which came later, which did a lot more. Now we have a lot more than them just saying I.
Yeah.
They're weeping, they're emoting. It's about their response to the event that tells us what our response is.
Yeah,
an emotional level.
Emotional interpreter.
And and so it's the double-edged sword of Roone Ulrich right there. So all of these things and how complex it was, and that I actually had the poster of Visions of 8 on the wall of my office for I don't know how many years with Nadia on there. I was always really into those films because I'm into sport and I'm into cinema, and it's the perfect combination of both. I love Arthur Penn's pole vaulting section. I think it's like one of the most, it made me want to do the pole vault, which I never tried.
Oh, never too late. Now your back's sorted. No, I mean, okay, if anyone's listening in the audience and you've got a pole vault movie, Peter's 100%. Interested.
Oh my God. But yeah, it was his commitment to the truth, my director's. He said he was going to use this footage. Nothing was made up in the movie, even for dramatic effect. There, someone was asking whether or not that was a real German official in that doc footage who was disassociating live on camera.
Yeah.
And I said, that's real.
Yeah.
That happened. So that commitment to the truth is what made me want to do it. And actually, before doing it, I went and stood at the Olympic Village right near those houses.
Wow.
Where they were, and now it's student housing. And I just was like, this happened. This happened.
Yeah.
I know it seems like a really simple thing to do, but sometimes we forget. It happened. It really happened. It's somehow, that's why people go to Auschwitz, for example.
Yeah.
It happened. This is the building. It helps to do that.
Yeah. I mean, it's informing an emotional intelligence from something that's, real. So that must be a really sort of good resource to use.
It's fantastic. And because Roone isn't famous in the same way that Robert Kennedy is famous, I didn't need to get all tied up in my underwear, like trying to make it seem like Rune Ulrich, you know.
So, I mean, let's talk a little bit about the character, because it's a difficult character, because, you know, your character is after the truth, they are after the story. There's hints in the, you know, in from other characters' perspective that there's a slight sort of dispassionateness. I found myself very on side with your character, like, you know, pretty much all the way through, and I sort of understood, you know, where they're coming from. But it's a tricky role to create a likability in the face of, I guess, the events and how horrifying they were.
Yeah, well, he's an ambitious guy.
Yeah.
He didn't end up being one of the most influential media figures of the 20th century by not being an ambitious guy. So he wants to do a good job to tell the story as it should be told, but he's also wanting to be known for what he did.
Yeah,
You know,
definitely.
and he's wanting more people to watch it, and he got 700 or so million around the world watching it, so he did it. Yeah, ambition. Ambition has like bad connotations, I guess, but I've not been around that many people that were utterly not ambitious. It's like ego is sort of considered a negative thing in some quarters, but then we elect Trump.
Yeah.
So like, I think, yeah, I don't think of him as a good guy or a bad guy.
No,
actually.
I think you're right. I think he manages to walk the line very effectively, and at times you're kind of on side, and then at times you're like, not quite sure, but I'm not against him.
Sure, even the way he talks about, like, well, if there's a shooting on camera, what do we do? I mean, that's the story, isn't it?
Well, that's it. Yeah. I mean, it should be captured whether it's viewed live or not. You know,
it would be viewed live if the live camera's on it.
That's
I mean,
true,
that's the problem.
That's the problem. Yeah.
They didn't know about like delays and stuff like that. Yeah.
So, what were some of the conversations you had with Tim at the start once you'd signed on? And
they were endless, man. I must have really irritated him because I called him every weekend. We worked on...
I think that's what you want as a director. I think you do want to have your actor like asking questions, because it shows that they are thinking about the micro moments of the subtext.
I'm sure he has the emails. I was very concerned with getting it right. And I was very concerned with also like... there are times when the characters are able to step back for a second to have a moral quandary or express the gravity of the moment. But my instinct was always that the gravity of the moment and the issues that it contains will be best expressed by just following the action. We didn't need to extemporize much on it. We just needed to do what they would be doing.
Yeah. I spoke to Leonie earlier as well, and she was sort of saying about backstory not being as important because there's so much going on.
No, you know, I have kids because I'm taken away from them, and don't bother me because I'm be with my kids. But like, you don't meet my kids, you don't meet my family. Look, you as a family man, which is actually what Rune would have done.
Yeah.
Rune, you didn't just watch Spitz swim in the swimming pool. You learned all about Spitz his entire life, so that when you saw the splashing that looks indiscriminate, and you're just watching a line of who's in first, which is pretty boring. You're filled with the feeling that his own family would be filled with.
What were some of the toughest scenes maybe in the film for you as a an actor to contend with? I mean, it could be schedule, it could be just the emotional beats.
The whole film was a little tough for me because I did Presumed Innocent, the first part section, and then I flew directly to Munich and I started filming this right away. And I shot it 3.5 weeks, and then Leonie came in more for her section afterwards with Magaro, and I left and went back and did Presumed Innocent. So for me, it was just about jumping into something. And like I was saying before, I'm not somebody who does a lot of conscious creation. So the difference between the character that I play in Presumed Innocent and this one is script and circumstance related. It's not, I actually put on different clothes and I look the same for the other show. That's not something I usually do.
It's your internal, it's your behaviors and the way that I guess it's how you present your character's outlook that always feels so different, you know, whether your character looks the same or not.
Yeah, I think, one of the questions I ask myself a lot of the time, I ask myself a lot of questions about people I play, and I'll say, who is this person's hero? Now, that's also got to be a hero that I respond to. You know, like, I'm not going to pick like somebody that I don't know that much about. So it's from my vocabulary of people, which person would this character most respect?
Yeah. I mean, I guess that's it. You have to have someone that's something behind the character that you can really like be inspired by.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, just to sort of finish off, do you have any advice for, I don't know, maybe someone trying to, find, get you a role, or, trying to get you attached to
actor?
Yeah. No, well, no.
Somebody trying to get me?
Yeah, exactly. Like what would appeal, what sort of things appeal to you in...
It has to be necessary.
Has to be necessary, yeah.
Experience is not a huge deal to me because I've worked with a lot of people that are inexperienced, and I worry more about second films than I do first ones.
Interesting, yeah.
So everybody does it differently. I've acted in maybe 100 things at this point over 30 years. Everyone does it a little differently.
Yeah.
Everyone talks to actors a little differently and all that. But it's important that the film be, to me, one that you personally need to make, not one that you think the world will eat up.
Yes.
One that a story you think needs to be told. It doesn't need to have like an important issue in it. It just needs to be personalized.
I love that. Brilliant advice to end on. Well, congratulations again on the film and, all of your films and your work.
I really appreciate it.
Always great to watch you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Ciao.
Hello. Very nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you, Leonie.
Have a seat.
Thank you.
Welcome to London. How are you feeling?
So I lived in London for 8 years.
Did you?
From
Wow.
2013 until 21. And the first time I ever came to London was in 2010 when Michael Haneke asked me to accept an award on his behalf.
For the White Ribbon.
For the White Ribbon.
Amazing.
And that was the only time ever I stayed in a hotel in London until last night. So it is very strange for
you
me
stay
to
here?
be here. Yes, I'm staying
Oh,
here.
this is the best hotel in all of London.
I'm told.
Yeah.
So it's very weird to be, because I do feel like it's my home turf. It's very strange to be in a hotel here.
So I lived in Germany for 4 years when I was younger.
Ah, bist du dort?
Ein bisschen.
Ein bisschen, ja.
So, ich bin Dominik mit dem Filmmakers Podcast.
Hallo Dominik, freut mich sehr.
Mein Bruder, I can't speak more than that. My
That's
brother,
fine.
my brother lives in Munich, so I've been learning German basically because him and his family live there, and the two nephews.
Right.
So I've been learning useful phrases like mein Euler ist klug und nett. So there we go. My owl is...
I mean, that is an important sentence.
Yes. and wine or beer, which seems to be a lot of the learning app, is like whether to order wine or beer. So
That's right.
yeah. So I mean, I love the film, and after watching it, I thought, okay, I've got to speak to you because your role is you carry such a lot of weight in the role, because you carry the weight of, you're basically the sort of main female character in the film, but you also carry the kind of pride of Germany, I feel, because it's a story where the Germans aren't necessarily successful, and
once again,
yeah, but your character, there's a sort of real quiet sort of power that she displays, and it was really the sort of heart of the story for me, and I was very impressed and wanted to sort of talk to you about it.
Thank you. Well, the thing is, that is all the writing of Tim Vierbaum and Moritz Binder. They co-wrote the script together and Tim directed it. Because yes, Marianne Gebhardt, the character I play, stands for a particular kind of post-war Germany, I think, but also for the Olympic spirit of that particular Olympics, I think, because it was 1972 was the first time since 1936 that Germany hosted the Olympic Games, and 1936 was a huge fascist propaganda event for Hitler.
Yeah.
So this, in 1972, part of the reason, actually, the live broadcast of this tragedy was possible was because Germany had set up a huge camera apparatus in order to show to the world, look at us, we are different now. You may, find that however you like. We now know how many Nazis were in the BRD and in the GDR in very high-ranking positions, but this was meant to be a look at us, we're different, and we're now liberal Germany, and Marianne, yes, is a little bit the face for that in the film, But when because people ask me this, like, what was it like to carry that weight? That is not something for me as an actor I find particularly helpful to think about, because it's not actable.
No, yeah,
you don't act.
It's not an actionable.
I carry the weight of a generation.
Right. It's not an actable, thing, and your character wouldn't be at that time.
Exactly.
She wouldn't be.
She's a translator.
She's a translator
who's very much worried about the outcome of this thing.
Yeah.
And deeply, I think. Like all of them, I mean, she's just very aware that she's the German in the room, and I think that does something to her. But I wasn't there going, "Ooh, how do I represent an entire Germany? Generation of Germans."
I mean, I think you just do it because I mean it in a sort of unintentional way, because your character, you do just. I mean, I know it's partly the writing as well, but it's also like the choices that you make. Mm-hmm. Your character just does, amongst all these kind of rash, fame-hungry kind of moguls around you, your character is just quietly getting on with the really necessary thing to keep things moving. And it's not like these kind of characters that sort of throwing their weight around and I need to do this and I need to do this and I'm fighting with this.
She's a problem solver.
And she just does it without any fuss.
Yeah.
And it's just it's a sort of immediately, even the way the character's introduced, it's sort of just on the sidelines, not making a fuss, and then suddenly it's like, okay, yeah, she's doing this and she's doing this and. Mm-hmm. So let's talk about how the story came to you, because it's an amazing film, and I'm sure it's great to work in really international sort of American leaning projects as well as Germany is.
Yeah, so that came to me. I want to say very early 2022.
Okay.
Through Simone Bär and Alexandra Montag, casting director team, and Simone Bär also cast me in The White Ribbon and Babylon Berlin and The Teacher's Lounge, and she
a good friend now.
Well, she sadly and devastatingly passed away January before we started filming.
That's really sad.
So this was her. Well, quite selfishly, to take her last gift to me, but also the last gift because it was actually the last film that she worked on.
Oh, that's nice. Yeah.
But it came through her, and whenever you used to get a script from her, you knew you were about to read something interesting. My agent had said, I know, it's 72 Munich. It's been done before, but Simone said it's a really good script, and it was. And it's exciting to read something where, because at the end of the day, it could have been a script about a bunch of men and one woman talking.
Yeah.
And, you're just reading and being like, But it was amazing because all the different characters already had a voice. For me, that's always a thing. If I can hear them, then that means someone has done their homework, and that would be in very subtle but informed decisions to do with the writing and research process. And it's exciting when you read something where it's obviously that people have done their homework.
Yeah,
that's how it came to me, and then I was on it for a bit over a year before we started filming in early 23.
So what was the kind of initial, I mean, you've read the script, you've mentioned some of the reasons why you liked the character. What is your sort of research process in retrospect to what's in the script itself that you can physically, take choices from and, make decisions versus the wider true story? Because, obviously we're not making a documentary. There's a lot of subtext to work with. So how was that sort of process for you starting off?
I mean, that's also, it was a very brave choice of Tim and Moritz to tell a story about a bunch of people that are just trying to do their job really well. We don't get a lot of backstory. We don't get to see Peter's character swim in the pool and with his family. Yeah. We understand that he's a family man because he said, but we don't see it. That's rare because there's always a temptation to not just show the character at work, but then also a little bit on their home life. So I love a script that trusts that it's well written enough for us to not need that. But what I wanted to really get right is someone who's really good at the thing that at her profession, which is translating. So I met up with the translator because I'm fascinated by that profession, and I just wanted to capture some of that. And then essentially Marianne is someone who's thrown into that situation like everyone else, but on top of that, she's not a journalist. She's kind of turning into their fixer on the ground, but unintentionally. But then, as you mentioned before, she's just someone who has a knack for problem solving. She knows what to do, and she'll just pick up and do the job before she's being asked to do it.
So is it useful for you to fill in those gaps that aren't in the script? I mean, I know you've just mentioned that it didn't need it in the script itself, but for you to know where your sort of character's coming from to be at this point, or can you just sort of jump into that? Okay, this is her mindset. This is her actionable, character. Because that's sort of interesting to me, like whether you enjoy that as a tool that's in the background for you.
I don't know if she's a cat or a dog person. I don't know if she rides the bike or drives a car. I don't know. And with a story like this one, I also don't need to know. I think there are other projects where having that kind of a backstory helps. But with this particular one, I felt like everything was so rich that I didn't need to know more either. Except no, I didn't do that.
Yeah, because I suppose the stakes are very high, and what your goals are in the scenes are very
exactly.
high
It's all very clear. Yeah.
So what were some of your main conversations with Tim, sort of going into the? You've signed on, you've read the script, you like it, you want to join the project. Well, what were some of those discussions about how to build the character?
We talked about the atmosphere in a control room. We made the decision together that I wouldn't go and shadow anyone because we liked the idea of me being thrown into that room a little bit. I also wasn't part of the table read. I met everyone on set because we liked the idea of me being thrown into that room a little bit. We talked about, I remember our first conversation was about like when you're in a room where everyone knows their job, and if you're in that kind of microcosm, there's a way of selective hearing. When you know what your job is, then you hit a frequency that the person you're addressing will hear you. And we talked about how he would want to create that kind of realistic atmosphere within the control room. And he always promised me he would get very good actors. And I always thought, of course you're going to say that. But we'll see.
He did though, yeah.
No, he did. He really did. And that part has worked out really well. But then also I remember I got a typewriter from the 1970s because there's only one scene where you don't even see my fingers. But I wanted to. It's very different from typing on the keyboards we have today.
Getting the feel for it.
Yeah, I wanted to get a feel for that. And I remember thinking a lot about, like, are there moments where she has even time to write anything down? Like, it's just very practical things in terms of what would she be carrying or be doing, where would her focus be, these sorts of things. And
what was the hardest scene of the shoot?
The hardest scene was actually the one. This was another huge conversation with Tim, the one between John Magaro, my amazing colleague who plays Jeffrey Mason, and Marianne at the end after they've gone through the entire day.
Traumatizing.
And the question of, well, basically, the German guilt comes into it a little bit again. We shot that scene several times, I think 3 times or something, and it never felt right. And when we came to it the last time, we had a huge, difficult conversation about how can we reduce the dialogue, because it was a little too spelled out. And John and I very much felt like we don't want to explain the film at the end of the film. We want to trust that we are making the film that we think we are making. And it's just a testament to Tim being so open to these sorts of changes, because we reduced it a lot. But that was a very difficult day. But it was, if you have people like John and Tim that you're making those decisions with or trying stuff out, then you are in safe hands at the end of the day. But that was definitely the hardest bit to get right.
Well, thank you so much for joining me.
Yeah, thank you, Tom.
Auf Wiedersehen.
Vielen Dank. Dankeschön.
Danke.
Amazing. Wow, just incredible people. It seems like you had a good chat as well and got in depth and inside knowledge, which is just what we want. That's what the podcast's about, right?
It is indeed.
It is indeed. Right, let's get to the director of September 5. He's a visionary director, to be honest. His previous work includes the sci-fi thriller The Colony, and he's also showcased his talent for creating suspenseful, thought-provoking cinema with September 5. Some of his other credits include Hell, which was his debut movie as a writer-director. He made lots of shorts, including Don't Ask Questions, Come With Me, and Double Murder, before recently, as we said, making The Colony, which starred Ian Glenn, Sope Derisu, and Sebastian Roche, as well as Nora Arnazida. And now, September 5. What will our listeners gain from this conversation? What will they take away, Dom Lemoire?
I think an attention to detail. That's really what I got off the actors, is that he's just a guy that's like really, really, really on the minutiae, like from creating every detail of the original equipment on the sets to just getting all the facts right and not sort of needing to embellish things too much. I feel like that's the sort of the guiding force for this film, is authenticity.
Amazing. Well, should we get to it?
Let's do it.
What we're going to do, though, just before we get to the episode with Tim Feldbaum and Dom Lamar, is play the trailer. That's what we're going to do now. The other side of that, you'll hear Dom's interview with Tim Feldbaum.
Ready, camera one. Hit it.
Good morning. I'm Jim McKay speaking to you live from the Olympics in Munich, West Germany.
Talk me through the day.
Starts with volleyball, then there's boxing.
Good. It's America versus Cuba.
Sure you want to bring in the politics?
It's not about politics. It's about emotions. And we're clear. Great job, everyone. Did you hear that?
Were those gunshots?
What's the situation?
The police are reporting that armed terrorists have attacked the Israeli athletes.
There's a hostage situation going on right now in the Olympic Village.
ABC wants news to take over.
Your sports, you're in way over your head.
400 yards away from where this is happening.
We are the only people capable of following it live. This is our story, and we're keeping it.
What do I tell the cameras?
What do you mean?
I mean, can we show someone being shot on live television?
We're on.
The piece of what have been called the Serena Olympics was shattered this morning. The games are still going on. Within a few hundred yards, 9 terrified, living human beings are being held prisoner.
You need to understand how sensitive the situation is.
These are just local cops doing things they have never done before.
We'll make it broadcast history. More people have seen this than watch Armstrong land on the moon.
Now, police are on the roof.
Oh, guys.
That's a TV. Or are they seeing what we're seeing?
What are you talking about?
Are the terrorists seeing this?
Our job is to tell the story of these individuals whose lives are at stake.
It's not okay if we made it worse.
It's a madhouse down here.
They know the whole world is watching. If they shoot someone on live television, whose story is that? Is it ours or is it theirs?
Welcome to the Filmmakers Podcast.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. It's a great podcast.
Thank you very much. I mean, we try and talk films, which is always nice for people to talk about process. How are you feeling about the release? I mean, it's a fantastic movie.
Thank you. Well, it's quite overwhelming. I think when we started working on this movie, I would have never expected that someday, I would be here sitting in London talking to you. I've been promoting this movie. We are blessed that we have this incredible support from Paramount Pictures, that they so strongly believe in that little movie, so to say, that we did. And I think it's an important movie on about how we consume media. And so I'm glad that it's getting that release.
Yeah, and I've spoken to Leonie and Peter already, and
good.
They're both fantastic, and both of them sort of said that that you're incredibly well researched and precise with how to sort of approach the film. So how did it start?
Oh no, you look, the 2 previous movies that I did were in a complete different direction, and I just knew that if I approach something historical, and especially a day of that still has that relevance, what I wanted to do before even starting to write the first word, the writer Moritz Binder and the 2 producers Thomas Webke and Philipp Trauer, who were all involved from the very beginning on, like, we did as much research as we could. So it was only in that process that I actually learned on what an important role the media played on that day, and what a turning point it was actually for media history. And maybe that's also something that the actors Leonie and John, or Peter, you talked to?
Leonie and Peter, yeah.
Leonie and Peter talked about. Then it was also really important for us that the whole technological aspect of the movie is accurate and well researched, because in a way this is a movie about technology and how technology changes the media, and in that sense also changes the way we perceive the world, right? And so this all should, the idea was that all of this is accurate.
There must have been so much information. I mean, did you already have an idea of like how you were going to sort of set the structure, what the start point was, what the exact point of view, sort of in the ABC and NBC studios was? Or did that come after the research, kind of, sifting through that?
Yeah, it was very clear always that we want to do something specifically about that day and something about the events on that day rather maybe than a character drama or so. The specific angle, there was a research conversation that we had, like when we were still trying to find our approach to the movie. Then we talked to the character that John McGowan plays, Jeffrey Mason, the real Jeffrey Mason, and he experienced that 22 marathon of broadcasting as a 20-year-old rookie for ABC Sport, working for ABC Sports live, in that he was in that room, and listening to his story and hearing what challenges they faced and what happened made us, for the first time, ignited that spark of, maybe we can tell the story entirely from that perspective. And this is also something that I immediately found an interesting challenge as a filmmaker. How do I tell a story that actually takes place in one location?
Yeah, and still make it exciting.
And still make it exciting with the monitors as the only window to the outside world. Yeah, this is... I myself, I also admire movies that draw their strength from a certain limitation in time, perspective, and location.
Well, I mean, I think you're right, and I think sometimes filmmakers are like, I'll just set this in one location to save money, but then there's films like this where it does it, and it's not a limitation. It's actually, you don't even notice that it's set in one location. It's just part of the fabric of how it's made.
Yeah, exactly. It's basically not just a concept or so. Of course, I have to admit, this is something that you also find interesting, like from a budget point of view. That everything we can always be in the same set or so, though I have to say it was much, much more complicated than we anticipated at the beginning. But yeah, as you say, in our movie, it is part of the essential story of that it is in that one location, and that we never leave that. And our movie is also in a way about what they don't see, not only what they see, so what they don't see.
Limited perspective.
Even though they are so close.
Yeah, I mean, the two things that really struck me and I think kept my engagement from the film were, one of them was the sort of the visual texture of the sets and the lighting and the camera. And I think the other thing was the strength of the point of views of the sort of three main protagonists, I guess, that all kind of have the view of, well, this is media, we should just follow it. Should we be doing this? Ambition sort of coming up, managing things on the ground. And then this sort of moral compass, which I sort of feel like was Leonie's character. And the way those three interact really sort of keeps the engagement on a narrative human level. But the visual side and the aesthetic, I mean, that was really interesting. Let's talk about the aesthetic first, because I mean the newsroom has this kind of golden flush, and the rest of it has a very unique sort of texture. Let's talk about that.
First of all, we tried to stay as close as we could to reality on how the studio really looked like. We had access to the original blueprints of the studios via the private archives also of Jeffrey Mason, for example. We had access to photos that we could carefully study, and we tried to be as close as possible to especially the control room. If you would see a comparison photo of the original control room compared with our set, it's
okay, well,
find the mistake.
Yeah, amazing, yeah.
And for the look,
it was because it has a mood. It does have a mood, and it feels completely authentic, but it also does have a feeling behind it.
Yes, in a way, the way we planned to shoot the movie, like the feeling that we wanted to convey to the audience, is the DP, Marcus Furter and I, we talked about, we want to shoot the movie as if we ourselves would be live with our camera, and that if this would be a live coverage. Because I spent a lot of time researching these control rooms just to observe the dynamics and within these crews. And even if they do like this regular, for example, I saw like a Knicks game or so that they were covering, even if it's a regular sport event, like there's this very unique energy and feeling like once they go live in these rooms. And this we also wanted to have in our movie. So we always said, like, for example, the first take, we always cover the whole scene. And we cover it as if, or saying that we want to cover it so that we could use, or we could cut the whole scene just from this one take.
I see, yeah. So a really important master, basically.
Yes, exactly. And we wanted that delayed reaction or so of the camera, so that you get the audience, for the feeling for the audience that we don't know what happens next. That's the thing, right? When you do live coverage, you don't know what happens next. So the camera reacts.
Yeah.
And the same approach we tried to have to this.
Yeah, I mean, I remember I used to, when I started out in camera, I did like some live screen filming, and there is someone, camera 2, give me a shot, camera 2, camera 1, camera 1, I need something, don't give me that, don't give me that.
Yeah.
Manic.
It's
intense.
It's like intense. And that's also like exactly how you just, it was a good little memory to me, gave me a memory like on when I was visiting these control rooms, like they were all also talking parallelly.
Talking over each other.
Each other. And it's amazing how that there's still, on the other hand, it's super clearly structured and what is important right now, and everything is clocked down to the second. So
I mean, I thought as well, I mean, I know maybe it's a sort of a reaction to being authentic, but the way that it was kept very dark inside the control room and some of the surrounding corridors, I almost felt like it felt like a very good sort of representation of them being kept in the dark and trying to...
Absolutely. And again, that's grounded in reality. If you ever been to you told me, like, these are dark rooms, right? Except for the monitors. And it's almost like a parallel world. At a certain point, I almost refer to it as almost like a vampire movie or so, right? If the daylight hits them, there's this one moment when Tom Magara's character opens the door and it's actually the real world for a glimpse, and then he quite fastly closes it again, as if he's like, I want to stay in my comfort zone in a way. And the darkness also, it is dark in a control room environment. But I think it's interesting also, especially as we know that the whole film will take place in that location, that how can we make it look different? So at the beginning, before they go live, it's much brighter.
That's right. Yes, it is.
It only becomes dark once they go live. You even see this that Marcus Furterer and his light crew, they had this very smart setup on how they could react on the spot with so in that scene when the countdown goes down and the lights turn off one after the other. This happened on our set too. And another thing that Marcus had as an idea is that you have this slight stroboscopic, and how do I say it?
Strobe lighting,
strobe lighting from the monitors. So you had lighting that did that, so that you constantly get that feeling.
And the sound as well. Let's not forget the sound. There's a moment when you turn off the sound one by one, and that again, you don't realize like what a electrical stressful hum does it is.
Oh, thanks for bringing that up. That's actually one of the finest scenes regarding sound design in that movie. Exactly that one when he turns off the machines.
That's it.
And it's interesting because often sound is not about what you hear against and also but what you don't hear. But that only works if you have set it up before.
Exactly.
So you set up, the film is constantly, you are in that highly technological room, and you constantly have the noises that these machines makes, the ventilations, all of that. And it's only once it turned off, you realize what was there actually all the time. And it feels so much more quiet.
It's a pressure cooker. I mean, I always find when you're cooking and you have the extractor fan on, as soon as you turn it off, you don't realize how stressful the fan was.
Exactly. Trust me, that's exactly the
analogy
example I was thinking of.
Oh, great! That's amazing. So let's talk just about the casting, because I mean they're all incredible cast, but they do all have their own perspectives, and they really do emotionally ground the film and tell the story. So, I mean, had they always been in mind?
Oh yes, of course. You have actors and actresses in mind, but it was also for us very early on clear that the characters should never become bigger than the stories, than the story that they're reporting on. That's also why we decided not to have any personal arcs. Right?
Yes,
we only want to see these people in their professional environment. And in a way, I don't know how I...
Well, Peter said about getting out the way of the story, which kind of falls in line with what you said there.
Yeah, it's
getting
that,
out the way of himself.
Yeah. And all of these actors have a very subtle, authentic...
Yes, definitely.
acting approach, and that's what I was looking for this story.
Yeah, I mean, what were some of the challenges of shooting this above everything else?
I might bring something up that sounds in the film it looks so you wouldn't get that if you watched the film, but actually what was really challenging was that monitor wall, which of course plays such an important role in a movie because basically it's a movie about people staring at monitors, and I wanted these monitors to be the real monitors from back then.
I see, yeah, because that's from a timing point perspective in filming, that must have been really complicated.
It's super complicated, exactly. Especially also since I didn't want it to be green screens. That often, if you do monitor scenes in movies nowadays, all monitors are just green. So that you can, in post-production, replace them with whatever you read right now for the moment. We didn't want to have that. We wanted the opposite. We wanted, for example, also John McGarra's character gives a direction, like cut to camera one or so, that it would actually have an effect on these monitors. And also, I wanted this to be the original monitors because I wanted to have that feeling of how, the lines or the little dots or so, that how these monitors still look back then. It shouldn't feel like a clean HD monitor from today, and getting all of that to work, and also to work in the timing, that was really, really tricky and super complicated.
And I suppose that also MMSs the actors as well, so that's really good.
Yes. Oh no, of course, yeah.
So just as a sort of last thing to wrap things up, what would your maybe advice be for you starting out in the industry? Maybe trying to make your first movie, or some advice to offer someone starting out trying to get their break as a filmmaker?
Oh, do something that's coming from the heart, and do something that's in a way. Look, I there's one. I think it's I saw something once where Tarantino is being asked the same question, like he's talking in front of an audience, and I'm of course not as eloquent as Tarantino, so I can just quote him here. He says, "Hey, but he's also being asked on advice, like who do you need to connect to, and who do you need to, which parties do you need to go or so to?" And he just said, "No, just do something that's awesome, and then people will come to you." And I think, and I also want to add that this has nothing to do with budget.
No.
This movie, in a way, also, and we talked about it before, draws its strength from a certain restriction also, and on that also a limitation also that we had in budget. And often this can lead to a much more interesting result than if you had the budget.
Brilliant advice.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much. It's been an absolute pleasure and really gripping, amazing film. So,
thank you so much. I enjoyed this.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Cheers, Tim.
It's just a treat, this episode, isn't it? Just a treat.
So much fun.
So much fun, but so much knowledge at the same time.
Yeah.
This is what this podcast's all about.
It is what it's about. And we talked about the wonderful fondue-filled baguettes in Basel, because Tim is a Swiss director. So there's a nice Swiss and German connection for me.
That's cool. Fondue-filled baguettes.
Yes.
Bread with chocolate.
Cheese.
Yeah. A cheese.
Yeah.
Even better.
Yeah.
Not really. Not for me. That's horrible. That's fun. Right, now we're going to get to our doubles, our twin pairings of actors. So
you sound really cheesed off.
Well, it would be, as the vegan. Food for Thought, speaking of which, is out on the 28th of February, literally 20 days' time.
Walked right into that one, didn't I?
You literally did. My documentary with Dan Richardson, we both directed and co-produced. I'll start putting links out soon, but it's going to be free around the world because we just want to spread the message of what the film is about, which is that don't eat cheese, don't eat animals. But anyway, that's not what we're talking about here. We'll come back to that, probably doing an episode very soon. Let's get to your next chat. This one's filmed, so you can see this on YouTube should you wish. This is with Leonie Benesch and actor who you haven't heard from yet, John McGarrow. So John McGarrow has starred in The Big Short, fantastic in that movie, First Cow, Past Lives, Carol, who's also in 18 and a Half, which was directed by our good friend Dan Mervish, who has been on the podcast. That's a brilliant episode if you want to listen back to that. As well as starring in The War Machine, Unbroken, Day of the Fight, Leroy, Texas, and Big George Foreman. September 5 is a brilliant starring role for him. So this chat, Dom, should we just get to it, or do you need any kind of preamble? for what you're talking about?
Preamble. I mean, we just we followed up from the last chat. My German was improved and was very well received after.
Oh yeah, you've been training in it, haven't you? And you're German.
That's it. Yeah, I sort of wandered into a German-speaking group when I was going for a walk on Hampstead Heath inadvertently, and they thought I was part of the group, and then somehow I'm now part of the German-speaking group.
WhatsApp group. That's
it's like a meetup where you speak German.
Oh, so great!
I've got family in Germany, so it's just it's been an exciting learning curve, and it's a fun thing to do. Fun thing to put yourself under the pressure of a TV crew.
Of a filmed interview.
to get it
I'm
right.
I'm going to impress you from the 2 weeks ago when we chatted for my updated German.
It was a couple of months, so it was a little bit better. But
has it been a couple of months?
Yeah, well, I think it was like at least a month. Well, it was nice to see Leonie again. She's fantastic and she's very personable, and she just did such a great job in the film. I mean, that's kind of why I was interested in chatting in the first place, because it's just such a sort of breakout role. I mean, I know she's done some amazing stuff, but maybe on the international stage. And John gives such a sort of interesting, unique perspective on this. And it's just great to sort of chat actors about their process, because they're all so different, and I feel like there's so much more variety and complexity to crack in the sort of acting world than maybe in some other HOD positions. So everyone obviously has their own visions, and directors and producers and writers. There's a sort of infinite level of stuff, but something about acting can be so undefinable. It's really good to get into the different processes people have.
Get into the weeds with them. Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, acting is difficult. It's not easy. People take it for granted a lot of the time, especially directors, new directors who've maybe not acted, not thought about working with actors, and it's not easy. It's really difficult to get in a certain state of mind. It's really difficult to stay there, especially being called at 6 a.m. to get in makeup and not been used till 4 p.m. or something. It's really hard to then suddenly turn it on. And it's something all directors and producers and anyone on set should understand. So yeah, that's great. Good. All right, let's get to it then, shall we?
Let's do it.
This is Leonie Benesch and John Magaro chatting with Dom Renoir. And after that, following straight on, is going to be our final interview of this epic. And it's swinging all the way back to Peter Sarsgaard. And this time he's going to be joined by Ben Chaplin. More actor stuff to learn from here, Dom?
Well, we talked about the Borrowers, which Ben was very surprised about, seeing as it was 1993, I think it was, The Borrowers' Return. Absolute classic.
I bet that was fun.
That was fun. No, it was great. I mean, these guys are just, they're just sort of full of culture, and they're just really smart, fun people. I walked in, they were playing Jimi Hendrix on their phone, and then Ben was talking about like the Jimi Hendrix Museum nearby, and we just sort of got chatting, and again, just the variety and the way that actors think. There's always just like so much great personality and tangents that you can go on. And one of the highlights for this as well, other than sort of following up with Peter, was just talking director's notes at the end. It was a sort of throwaway last question, but we got some just brilliant things about what to say, what not to say, stupid notes that directors give, or great notes that directors give from people like I think it was like Francis Ford Coppola or Terrence Malick. I mean, big sort of level directors, and just what's useful and what's not useful to actors. So it was a really, really insightful chat.
Brilliant. For those who don't know, Ben Chaplin has graced our screens in everything from The Thin Red Line to Cinderella and The Nevers, as well as The Borrowers, as Dom has mentioned. Right, here it is.
Practiced my German since last time.
Okay.
So, willkommen zurück. Wundervolle Deutsch Schauspielerin.
Dankeschön. Vielen Dank.
What does it translate?
Welcome back, you wonderful German actress.
There we go. Yeah, last time we were talking about my pet owl, so slightly better. How are you both doing?
Good.
Great.
Amazing, yeah. I mean, huge congratulations on the film again. Your performances are both incredible. So let's sort of go into the mindset. You first got the script. What were your first sort of thoughts on the characters, and what sort of excited you about them?
I read the script. I inhaled the script. That's always a great sign. I think I would have probably, if Tim hadn't offered me Marianne, it was the kind of quality script where I think I would have played a much smaller part just to be a part of it, because you want to be a part of something that interesting.
It's monumental, isn't it? Yeah. And what about yourself?
Yeah, I mean, it's an Oscar-nominated screenplay. So
we knew that.
Clearly it was good. So it was a very thrilling read, and as soon as I was done, I knew I wanted to be a part of it. Yeah.
What are those sort of thoughts in terms of building the character? Because, I mean, last time we sort of spoke about when there's so much of a goal going on, there's so much pressure in the situation that you're in. Like, how do you sort of find those sort of personalizations?
For me, it was really conversations with the real Jeff Mason, who's still with us, and also getting into sports broadcast control rooms and learning what it means to produce and direct a live broadcast. Doing a lot of research into that, learning the ins and outs of a production facility. That was really the core into Jeff's, character.
I do think that a lot of the things were, most of it was on the page anyway, because Tim and Moritz just hadn't really done their homework. And I remember my first conversation with Tim, he said that he wants Marianne to be very straightforward, very no bullshit, thinking 5 steps ahead and already engaging in, preparing the next step without explaining to anyone what she will do. She'll just get it done. And my mum's name's Marianne, and I saw a lot of.
Oh, lovely!
And she's, I've got 3 younger brothers. So when we were kids, that she had a lot on her plate. So I did, from the way Tim pitched what he wanted to see in Marianne, I was like, oh, that's my mum. Yeah.
What were your sort of first experiences like working together on set? I mean, what was the first scene you both...
Awful. I will never work with him again.
I don't. What was our first? Did you know whatever? I can't.
You
remember.
were calling a show. I think.
Was that it?
I think so. I don't remember. I just remember being really happy with the fact that you're very good. I just, because you don't know.
Yeah. You don't know who you're going to be working with, whether they're giving anything back to you.
Yeah.
And I suppose that's the apprehension, isn't it? You haven't sort of worked with all these people before.
Right.
Yeah.
You're sort of thrown in at the deep end, and suddenly there's a big film. There's so many people in the crew and the cast. I mean, did anything change with your sort of characters from how you imagined it in the script? To maybe like when you'd arrived on set and you started sort of working together and getting into the whole like process?
No, not with the characters. The characters were again, the script was pretty, it was pretty clear. We changed scenes sometimes. There was certainly collaboration happening. And we, like the scene at the end with us, we had shot it once and everyone realized that wasn't right. So we came back to it and we had a big, long discussion to get it right. And I think we did.
Could you go into what the difference is? Because I mean, we've got a sort of filmmaking audience. That'd be really interesting to know what that flip was.
I didn't stumble across it reading it. But then when we are acting it, sometimes when you then put it on its feet, it doesn't quite work. The way it was written was a little bit more spelled out, and it was more about it felt a little bit like we were explaining the film at the end of the film.
Right. Yeah. The too many ending situation. Yeah.
Yeah. And we felt a little bit like, well, we both made that the case to Tim of, if we are making the film that we think we are making, it will be implicit and the audience will understand. And let's trust that a little bit more and have these 2 characters not find the right words for what happened. Leave more unsaid.
I think that's what we did. We were like, this conversation feels like this is the kind of conversation you would have weeks, if not years later.
Yeah.
We're like, it feels like this is still way too raw. So what would these people actually be able to muster up to say in this moment? And that's kind of where what changed and where we started from to rework that scene.
I suppose that's the great thing about sort of being an actor, isn't it? Is because, as a director or a writer, you're often looking at the sort of the macro and the bigger picture. But as an actor, you have to think, well, okay, what's the, this is a sort of traumatizing situation. Like, what are the characters sort of going through in that?
I mean, what's amazing about that is that both Tim and Moritz were willing for us to they allowed for that to happen, because it would have been very easy for them to say, this is what we wrote, we think we are right, but they were willing and open to try it And then I remember, because there were difficult discussions, I remember Tim coming up to us the next day and say, "Thank you, you were right. This is actually what we needed." And that was amazing. That's collaboration.
Was there any, I mean, what's your sort of preference in terms of something like this that's very intense? Do you like sort of, are you sprinters or, here for the marathon in terms of like how many takes you do? Like whether you like to sort of come in and nail it in the first two or three?
I do love 3 takes.
3 takes?
Yeah, that's probably the magic number. But
but that was not the case.
That was not the case here. But also I'm a believer in let's get it right if it's not there.
Yeah.
But it's not that we did so many takes. We had a lot of setups in this. That's what it was. Yeah. We had a lot of setups.
Yeah.
And we had this thing called wild style. Once we got all the coverage of a scene, we would do a wild style, which was just like a free for all. You know, not hitting your mark.
Okay, so you can kind of improvise.
Yeah, in a way, it was very loose.
Go again in the middle of the take if you want to, that sort of thing.
Yeah, so that was fun.
Anything in particular you sort of remember that sort of came out of the box that was sort of improvised or came out of the collaborations or something that wasn't necessarily?
I mean, so much of the calling of the actual footage, a lot of that was improvised because we had only gotten the footage a couple weeks before he started. So there was no time to apply that to the script. So because I'd done the research, we could just look at the footage we have and call the show based on that. Yeah.
So just going into the sort of rehearsal side and those early conversations with Tim as well, like what were your sort of early, like, you've read the script, you've got into the character, just those sort of bits as well. Like, did you do much on set before the actual, the blocking out? Was it just dive in at the deep end?
Yeah. Dive in. Yeah. This was a dive in. There was no, often with indie films, there's no time. And I'm not really a fan of much rehearsal ahead of time. I think the fun about filmmaking is the discovery on the day. I think if it's not a play, even though this one, it has a very theatrical qualities to it, it's filming is really the rehearsal process. If it was a play and you're filming it and you're discovering things, I think if you over rehearse, then you're killing a lot of that spontaneity and that discovery. And for this, we also couldn't do it because I had COVID the week before, so there was no time. There was no time. But when you have good people and a good crew and good actors, I don't think you really need much.
Was there any last thing to sort of follow up on? Any really memorable good notes that you were given, like director notes?
No,
from the movie.
Nothing.
Zero, zero direction, like all the way through. Yeah.
Direction notes. I think Tim really trusted us.
Yeah,
he really.
I feel like he really sort of opened up to what your
input is.
Yeah. I think he trusted us, and we trusted him. We trusted his technical expertise and his precision and all that stuff. And because it is kind of a docu-style film, I think he just wanted, the only note that was ever given, if anything, was just, and not really to us, but maybe to some of the supporting cast who came in, was basically do less, that kind of old chestnut, because it was, and in particular when you have the actual footage of Jim McKay, who's just as real as it gets, we really had a goal to be just as authentic. Yeah.
But there was definitely a memorable day where Tim got COVID and he tried to direct the set from a little iPad, and that was chaos.
Fail.
It's tough, isn't it? I think when it
didn't work.
I think it really is important to have the actor and the director. I always like to be like, really close to the actually watching them and sort of feeling the emotion. And that sort of thing.
He was
miles away in Video Village.
So I think Werner Herzog that has done that. Someone who was I just reading? Someone did that where they directed a movie. Basically from afar.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. That's not in this one.
Yeah.
Lovely to chat to you again, and lovely to meet you. It's been a real pleasure, and congrats on a really thrilling, immersive film.
Cool.
Thank you.
Lovely. Auf Wiedersehen.
Yeah, tschüss. Thank you.
So we're starting off with Jimi Hendrix. Is that sort of is that?
I played it on Inauguration Day. That was my Inauguration Day song.
We were just talking about him, and he lived down the road next to Handel. Not at the same time. There's a Jimi Hendrix museum just on Brook Street.
Oh, okay.
They shared a wall.
They
right?
shared a wall. Their apartments were next door to each other 100 years apart, but I believe Jimi Hendrix was aware of it. Anyway, sorry.
Jimi Hendrix was definitely aware of it.
Yeah.
Starting with some good culture.
I think he wrote Messiah in there. Is that right? I don't know.
Not sure.
Bit of a nostalgia trip for me as well. Borrowers. When I was young, that was like a real treat for me. It was like a TV show, BBC.
The Return of the Borrowers.
Return of the Borrowers.
I was in the second one, wasn't I?
Yes, with the house made of playing cards.
That's right. And I was an outdoor, but I was allowed to go outside, wasn't I?
Wait, is this based off the books?
Yeah,
I read the books. I read the books.
So did I. They were quite frightening. They were quite frightening. Yeah.
But imaginative.
It's a big euphemism. They were thieves, weren't they?
Yeah. They were lovable thieves.
Yeah. I mean, I wasn't very nice, actually. I was kind of an evil one.
Yeah.
Ditchley. Yeah, I wasn't very nice to Ian Holm.
But September the 5th, how are you both doing, with the whole release? It's nice to see you again.
It's been lovely, hasn't it? Because we made it 2 years ago now.
Really? Yeah.
And it's just really nice when you do something that you all admire and wish and hope the best for.
And get to, we finish these little films most of the time, and you really think you're never going to see the film or the other person again.
Yeah.
This happens all the time. And so I think every bit of success that it's had has just been a really pleasant surprise, and also a great opportunity to see people that we like. Hanging out with.
Oh, it doesn't happen that often.
This is true. So what was the sort of first impressions when you both sort of got your hands on the script? What made you think, okay, I've got to do this project? I mean, obviously the story is fascinating.
For me, it really wasn't the script, although the script was very good. It was quite dry and a little bit difficult. It had like
a hard read.
Yeah, a hard read. It had technical stuff in it. It had documentary allusions. It was like kind of a mixed,
full of information.
Yeah, a lot of information.
And I'd run into Sean Penn before doing it. He's executive producer, so I was reading it with in my head that he was executive producing it, which puts a little bit of a spin on it.
I mean, a great person to collaborate
you worked with Sean, haven't you?
Yeah, and my first movie was with Sean. So, yeah, and then meeting Tim, just this irascible guy who was just like a terrier in terms of going after the information. Like, I actually think Tim would be a decent journalist. Because the way he collects detail and remembers it and doesn't change it.
Yeah.
We all have this habit of telling a better story. He doesn't have that one.
He doesn't embellish, no.
Super accurate.
Super accurate. And he'll correct people in Q&As and stuff, won't he? And he's incredibly detailed.
Yeah, he got asked in an interview the other day with me. They said, the interviewer said, well, the Israelis had offered their help before the hostage crisis, right? And they turned it down. And he went, I'm not aware of that. I don't think that's probably accurate, but I don't know it
no
at all. I do know that they offered their help after. And the journalist kept going. He said, well,
He'll keep his mind on an enormous amount of things and come back to it. He'll always come back to something. He does always want everything to be as clear as possible.
He always does look a little bit distracted by the story of the film while he's talking to you.
Okay. Filmmakers, quite common in filmmakers. They're really spinning a lot of plates. So it is quite hard for them to give a simple answer to things because they're thinking about
you're going to be multi-layers. Yeah, they're like looking at the horizon and you're whispering in their ear.
Yeah,
and they're like,
super observant, but observant about these decisions that are made here, how they will impact over there.
No, he would eat like,
Yeah. And he's still like it. He's still laser focused.
So what was, was it that sort of grabbed you as well?
Yeah, it was partly him.
Is it that sort of focus on the details and knowing, okay, I'm going to jump into this historical event and this guy really knows what he's talking about rather than we're going to get this wrong or we're going to, offend people or annoy people?
It's a bit, also Pied Piper, like Peter's doing it. Sean Penn's producing it. John Magaro, I'm a big fan of him. Leonie Benesch, they're all attached when I got sent it. So it's a bit
very appealing.
Yeah, I'm not going to say no. So even if I hadn't liked it, it'd be like, well, hang on, I must be missing something. But no, I read it, and it wasn't an easy read. It's not something where you go, I can see how this will be. It's like, will this be very dry? It's about something tragic, but will this be very? Could this be a very faithful but dull account? And then you meet Tim, or remotely by Zoom. It was still ends of COVID.
Sort of time,
it was. We had to the whole crew were masking as we shot. But yeah, he was, you go, oh, he's got something on this. He's very passionate about this. And his attention to detail, the script's attention to detail and respect for the individuals was such that you're like, this could be, wasn't certain what it would be, but now seeing the film, it does, your instincts were right, that this was saying something quite important, I think.
And what about sort of finding those personal edges, to the script? Because you're thrown into such a pressure cooker sort of environment. So I know it's very much about the goals and the scenes and the tension of all that. What about sort of finding the nicer sides of your characters or the sides that you can justify?
There's no time for any of that. No. And I think that's one of the great things about the script is it doesn't allow you personal embellishment.
I mean, I got a couple of those moments, didn't I? So people, Marvin Bader got a couple of those moments, which may or may not have been accurate, but it seemed right for somebody who's a troubleshooter. That's their job to troubleshoot.
I remember having like conversations like this. I mean, some of the simple stories you could tell, for example, are like, at that point, Rune was quite a wealthy man. And there was a discussion about like what watch I would wear, how I would dress and stuff. And I'm, you're wearing one outfit for the whole movie. So everything is very simplified in terms of storytelling. And I remember saying like, I think it all should just look like a white t-shirt or white shirt, nothing. Really, like you can't tell whether it's high class or low class. It could be a nice shirt. We can't tell. Yeah. And then I said, and maybe a nice watch, which you almost never see. Yeah. So like, just, it's not like we're trying to tell a huge story, and because you could do an outfit where you're like, well, he's still in his tuxedo from the previous night,
Yeah. No, the story was much bigger than the individuals involved, and that was reflected in the cast too, and the crew. It was a genuinely collaborative. Filmmaking, I think, is the most collaborative art form in the world. Right? Yeah. I mean, even more so than dance, to a certain degree, because you have the technical nature of covering it. And it can't be done without everybody there.
And no one was trying to be too clever.
Nobody.
No, you know what I mean? There's never a moment where like, it'd be really great is if you walked through the doors, I was going the other way, had like a boom moment, and then we...
it was well-intentioned and honest at all times.
Yeah.
Was there even any need to sort of create a backstory between your characters in terms of like what your relationship...
No, that became what our relationship was within the making of the movie.
Okay, so the actual, sort of trial by fire, you're in the thing. Okay, yeah, this is his perspective. This is my perspective. We're going through the...
We also had like instant history because like, I mean, we barely knew each other, but we did have a very strong connection in this acting teacher. I had certainly followed him. I mean, my acting teacher talked about him all the time.
And she talked about him. She would do that, and it made you part of a sort of a stable. I mean, it sounds like a cult.
So I would
agree it wasn't.
Whatever he did, if Ben Chaplin were in it, I would.
And the same with Peter's wife. She worked with, her name was Penny Allen. Yeah. We all worked with her, and she, to all of us, was sort of life-changing. Certainly to me, definitely life-changing. A mentor and a friend, a genuine friend for over 20 years. So we had that. So when it's a bit...
And I suppose you're connected in the process as well.
Yeah, your process.
You're not going to be like, acting against a brick wall.
100%.
You know how to...
Yeah, and it's not method or anything like that. Yeah. You just know your sensibilities will be similar. And sensibility is the absolute biggest thing when you're working.
Yeah.
Just as a last sort of question, any good notes or bad notes you remember, not from this film, obviously, if we're going bad notes, but like just memorable bits of direction tips for like directors working with actors?
Well, like
less is more. Less is definitely more.
Yeah.
What I would say to a director is let them, if you got time, they keep doing it. They'll get to where you want eventually if they're any good, and it'll be much better than if you told them to do it.
Great.
God, I've heard so many bad. It's just like a bad piece of direction.
Bad piece of direction. Don't do this sort of thing.
Louder, funnier, things like that.
Yeah.
Be funnier. Be funnier.
I mean, frequently it's like a director who will make a comment about your physical appearance right before you go on.
Word.
And that those pants are a little tight on you.
The worst, yeah.
The pants are, you think the pants are tight on me? Let's just shoot it.
Yeah, great. Thank you so much.
Put you in your head,
yeah.
Are you seeing that my pants are too tight on me?
I find abstract notes to be better. So it'd be something that's just personal. But I like something about, Francis Ford Coppola gave me a note about time, about the quality of time that was so powerful to me. Terrence Malick gave me a note about the impossibility, the incommunicability of grief.
Wow.
Something like that, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So did you feel that?
Yeah.
So then you just do it and that's in there and it's like, that's a note.
I had a director say, you'll have to bleep this, but I had a director come up to me before I take, and it actually really helped my performance. It sounds awful. But she said, why are you acting like a pussy? I thought I'd hired a man.
Oh my God.
Action.
Don't do that.
Do you know what Coppola was this? Coppola did this with Val Kilmer, said to me, what did he say? He goes, 30 years older and way more English. Action. And you got Val Kilmer opposite you.
But, well, you know what I did after the line from that director is I was like, in the scene, I was just like,
yeah, I know. Yeah, so she wanted that. She fucks with you. She fucks with you.
I mean, we've got to wrap up. Sorry. I'm killing the guys in the time. So it's been lovely to chat to you.
Yeah, likewise.
And really, really nice tips at the end, though. Thank you. That's, we don't get that sort of stuff much. So
no worries. It's all personal, though. What works for one might not work for another.
Exactly, but it's valuable. Very valuable.
Okay,
Thank
cool.
you. Cheers.
What an epic episode, mainly for actors, for directors to understand that side of things, and for you to go and see September 5. What a wonderful showcase. And again, the last 2 interviews there with Dom will be on YouTube at some point if I edit them and put them up. Hopefully I'll do that very soon. All right, we're going to do our film topic of the week next week because Dom has a good one for you about the state of the filmmaking industry in the UK. So look forward to that next week when we'll be chatting with, very likely, Bridget Jones, director, or it could be Small Things Like These, director. Wow. Either way, it's exciting.
Not small directors like these.
No, not indeed. Or small minds like mine and yours. Let's get to film term of the week.
Dom and Jones, film term of the week. Dom and Jones, film term of the week. Oh, Dom and Jones, film term of the week. Dom and Jones, film term of the week.
Do the film term of the week? Yeah, all right.
What is it?
Everyone loves this. Well, a film term is something that is on
very good.
set.
Very good.
Right, thanks. Film term of the week. This is our section where we describe a film term. Dom has to guess or tell you what it is, because most of the time he doesn't know what it is. And you take it away, so next time you're on set, you understand.
Disclaimer, these are often quite obscure.
Yeah, they very much are. So, Dom, this week's film term of the week is A Veronica.
Veronica. I feel like that's a bit of equipment.
Not. It's a slang word.
Okay,
and
Veronica.
This Veronica has a surname, and it rhymes with that.
It's not twat, is
it? Which would rhyme with what? At Veronica Lake.
Veronica Lake. Oh, Veronica Lake. A drink break?
Get the Veronica Lake. No, get.
I don't know.
Oh, good. No. What else does lake rhyme with?
Steak.
Why would that be on set? Why is that a film term? And we're vegan here now. No. Just no. Okay, it's slang for take.
Oh.
It's a film. We love it here in the UK. Dom doesn't remember. Veronica Lake, which is a very British London thing to do, London slang, to turn that into take.
Which wraps up very nicely with our actors chats, and where we came up with the perfect number of takes. Three takes is like that's the sort of the ideal number, unless you're like really working through something unusual. So really interesting. Which is about what you get on an indie film if you're lucky.
Yeah, if you're lucky, 2 is probably about it. Let's move on. We need to move on because something's happened. And then you just go one more, and then actually the light changes, something happens. You go, oh, well, let's do one more. Oh, that's ridiculous. Yeah. So yes, 3 is about right, because by then the actors are warmed up into it. The second take's normally the best, and the third one is a backup. Amazing. Thanks, Dom. Been amazing this week. Wow.
I'm quite proud of these ones. I think they were pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm very, very pleased. I think sometimes thrillers are
part of a dynasty.
Thrillers are like underrated in sort of filmmaking terms, but actually to make a really good, intense, gripping thriller,
it is equally as valid as any kind of, slow plodding drama. And this is it has lots of questions that it poses despite its pace, and it has some terrific performances. So maybe you should consider this on your Oscar, BAFTA voting when you get around to that. For all of our BAFTA voters and listeners.
Yeah, and those ones. Everyone else, just put it on your to-do list to go to the cinema and watch it.
Well, that too, yeah. But or become a BAFTA member, make that on your to-do list.
Yes, make that on your to-do list.
And Paramount were lovely enough to to let me have one of the giant posters, which was really really fun taking out on public transport on a windy day. It's like I was a human kite. I was honestly a human kite.
Cool. September 5's out in cinemas now. Go watch it. And then, if you're lucky enough to rise up and do well, it is your duty to
send the elevator back down.
We will see you next Tuesday, as always, when, surprise, it's going to be another amazing episode.
Yeah.
Dom is probably hosting this.
I might be.
I'm a little busy at the moment. I'll fill you in on all that very shortly. So yeah, you're just really lucky to have me here doing his intros, I'd say.
Yeah. I can't do the intros. That's one thing. I'm fucking terrible.
Well, you can. You're doing it now.
Well,
outro, yes.
I'm not a primo. I'm not a primo intro. I'm a
solo.
That's not on the toolkit.
Primo intro. Yeah. No, sadly.
No one talks nonsense like you.
Yeah, no one can do the Graham Norton,
nonsense.
Alan Partridge, effortlessly. Welcome to the Filmmakers Podcast. Yeah, it's a skill. All right, yeah. It's a skill. What can I say? Thank you, everyone, for listening. You are amazing. Go out there and make your films. Literally do something to make it happen this week, and then we'll see you next Tuesday. Thanks, Tom.
Thanks, Charles.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.